So it's been a rather interesting day of playing Ashes of Creation for me in a spot test the day before the official Alpha 2 playtest begins every weekend from now until December. I cannot share any visuals, videos, screenshots, and so on with you due to a NDA, as you can see from this email they sent me. I can, however, talk about what my impressions are so far with close to 4 hours of playtime, which may not seem much, but it's the most I could do for today. The biggest thing is that I would definitely not look at Ashes of Creation's Alpha 2 playtest to be a gameplay experience at all. It was janky, finicky, buggy, glitchy. Quests were bugging out. Dismounting teleported me to a random spot on the map. And many such things you would expect from an alpha or beta playtest of any game or a MMO occurred. Having said that, or the negatives, I want to talk about everything else from start to finish about what I experienced after having gotten over the very surreal feeling of finally playing something many of us have been checking up on for almost a decade at this point. I will also be streaming Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 every weekend, so if you guys are just curious about what the MMO is shaping out to look like, then feel free to drop by the Twitch or YouTube streams at NefisQS. So the night before the spot playtest, the founder and creative director of Intrepid Studios, Stephen Sheriff, was just chilling in the Ashes of Creation Discord server, answering people's questions, and right before the playtest started early today, there was an impressive 3,000 plus people on a weekday in the Discord stage listening to Steven asking them to stress test and break the game. And of course, the logins through the launcher were completely broken, as there were undoubtedly many more people trying to get into the spot test. Speaking of the launcher, I don't know if they're going to keep the visuals of it or the kind of the aesthetic of the launcher. It's fine, it's straightforward, there's nothing much more to say about it. But the first thing you definitely encounter after getting through the launcher login and all that is going to be the music. The music just kind of hits you as the character creation loading screen kind of pops up. I was expecting a lot of blank gaps in the audio and music in this alpha playtest or pre-test. But it seems pretty good. The music seems well done. The audio for a lot of the skills that I could cast were fine. I think the audio is pretty nice. As for the character creator itself, it's kind of skeletal. There's only 3 races available, which is fine, as they will be adding more to the Alpha 2 playtest. There were 6 archetypes or classes available as well, just missing 2 archetypes or classes, which I believe is the Rogue and Sorcerer. So it's really nice to see that. The character customization, there were some really interesting things, like being able to put tattoos or markings on your character at different angles or different sizes or different areas by simply manually doing it rather than having a predetermined location for that aesthetic, like many other character creators in many other games. There's also a way to sculpt your character in terms of like thickness of their muscles and stuff like that. I think they'll expand on that later because it also kind of seemed a bit bare bones. There were not many hairstyles. Again, I don't think they're really focusing on the features just yet for character creation, or even for things like that are more seen as luxuries, I suppose, in terms of game development timeline. They're more focused on, I guess, the stress testing of the servers plus the actual gameplay aspects, such as the combat. So definitely expect something like that of what I just said. In terms of, again, audio, pretty great. Visuals are very nice, very beautiful. I would not be surprised if I have to tone down some of the graphic settings, though, if I'm going to stream it at the same time and play at the same time. So visuals, very beautiful. The night sky, I mean, everything you kind of have seen from their development updates for the past several years is probably there. The night sky was very beautiful. There's not much more I can say about the visuals. I think it's fine. Of course, there's going to be some jankiness or bugginess with some of these visuals in terms of animations or people's walking animations and so forth. Scale-wise, it's huge. I think everyone knew it. Everyone was expecting it. The world itself, because the alpha playtest only takes a fragment of the world map and puts everybody into it per realm or per server. I mean, when you zoom out, you just feel like an ant. there's just so much to explore. The appeal to explore everything, the appeal to trawl across the land and with your guildmates or with your friends, it's all there. And the game doesn't really try to hold your hand too much, even for quests. I don't know if that's like intended with some of the markers or the quest journal kind of pointers, but it does not really hold your hand too much in terms of exploration. You just kind of have to go along with the flow and kind of end up in sticky situations. UI is terrific. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. You can actually customize the UI or user interface in the HUD by just expanding or minimizing things. You can move everything around because they do intend on not having add-ons for the game, which is also great because they want all the information available in the game. So the UI impressed me. Although I do have a couple complaints with the UI in terms of like text size. I feel like there could be more settings in the future for that, or adjustments to text, because some of the text can be very, very small. But yeah, it's all great so far. It's got a great foundation going for that. Combat wise, it's hard to say because again, I couldn't get too many hours in, but also just based on the skills themselves, it felt good. But at the same time, again, it's hard to say if like the combat's great. It's kind of this weird hybrid mix between free action combat, tab targeting. There's a couple issues personally for me in terms of like looking around with your camera, cutting off interactions with mining a rock or harvesting a tree or even interrupting movement at times. I don't know if that's again a bug or not, so we'll see. But the combat, hard to say if people will love it or like it. It just seems like everything that they have shown in the development videos and live streams is there. There isn't really anything more to expect beyond that, as I reiterated earlier. And mixed in with the combat, the scale, the crafting system that I got to experience as well. It's kind of like PAX Day-esque in some ways if you guys have playtested that MMO. So I think immediately you'll understand when you play Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 or whatever in the future of Ashes Creation, that they really did stick to their vision for the game in terms of it being an actual MMORPG where people have to come together to coordinate, or in some cases to wreak havoc. It's a very community-oriented game. You can tell from the crafting system, you can tell from the way that you will not probably survive a lot of the quests or encounters. You do need people, you need help from people, you need to coordinate some things. Yeah, it's very group-oriented MMO. I think if you can solo some of these things, it would take you too long, in my opinion. And for crafting and things like that, I can definitely see the foundation that they've laid for that is also very group oriented. So yeah, just not a solo player friendly MMO. Like, it's not an MMO that says we're going to try to cater to everybody and be like, we're going to cater to also to solo players for overland content. I did notice that there were some world events going on too, but couldn't check that out. So again, the skeletal structure of Ashes Creation is there with some meat on it. I'd say it's a bit further developed than PAX Day's alpha was if you play tested PAX Day as a rough general comparison. I will again be streaming Ashes of Creation Alpha 2 every weekend, so if you guys are curious, again, definitely drop by whenever on this live streams to ask questions or to ask me to look at something. I'll also be dropping the Ashes of Creation Discord server we have made in the description down below if you are interested in forming a community with us there. Stay safe and see you guys soon. And I'll also answer some questions in the comments if you have any.